I've recently read an article that was something to the effect of, you shouldn't buy adults gifts. I won't bother looking for the source, just take my word for it. Anyway, it got me thinking, what are the ins and outs of this whole gift-giving process? To address the article, which details the exploits of an embittered person pre-December 25th, not knowing what to get someone, and the crotchety person post-December 25th, getting gifts that they don't want, and the people that really don't take the event seriously, giving potato chips as a present, and all of the stress in between. Because people involved are adults, they don't need gifts as they can buy things for themselves, but the author stresses that kids are the exception. This led me to review the entire gift-giving process, and do gifts have any meaning past 18? To address the case of the author of the article, by means of devil's advocate, sometimes someone might want to give someone something, but it could easily be a very misinterpreted exchange. The blow must be lessened, however, if the gift is given on a special occasion. I think that in order for the gift-giving process of the quote-unquote mature to work, people must have the mentality that it would be nice to maybe have a gift, but it is not expected, if that's possible. And, like the adage, you should only speak when you have something to say. You should only give if you have something to give. This is to say that gifts should be more like calculated shots fired from a bolt-action rifle. If you know the person very well and know what they like and don't, and have a good idea of what they have and don't have, it might be worth it. If you don't have a grasp on any of these things, I wouldn't recommend going helter-skelter with a submachine gun spraying your money on something completely random and praying they'd like it. Maybe gift giving shouldn't be considered an equivalent exchange. But as you're a kid, see, there's a fundamental difference between the process of acquiring things dependent upon one's situation. Now, this could be, maybe they're employed, maybe they make a lot of money, maybe they make a little money, maybe they make no money, maybe they're a college student, if you're an adult. As you're a kid, typically, I know some kids might have some type of allowance, or maybe they don't, or maybe they do yard work or something, right? It just depends. In my own experience, when I was a kid and I received presents on Christmas, it was a huge deal. I was excited. I was extremely excited, typically. Sometimes you'd ask for things, or sometimes you didn't, or if you had parents that knew you very well and knew your interests and you didn't have to ask for it, but they got you something you really liked. And it makes me a bit sad thinking that as an adult, I have almost never been as excited as I was as a kid. Almost never. And it got me thinking, why is that? Now, there's a difference between the psychology of, getting something that you earn and you worked hard for, and maybe getting something that you necessarily didn't work for or didn't deserve, right? And I've noticed that as an adult, when I have money, or I have employment, or I've saved a lot of money, or I make a lot of money, because, I've had different patches in life. Sometimes I've had lots of money. Sometimes, I've worked 2 jobs and I've had lots of money, and I can buy anything I want. But when I buy these things that I want, it's not always that satisfying. Like, I look online, and if there's a game I want, I can buy any game I want right now, and I have many games that I've never even played. Now, that goes into the mindset of, as a kid, I believed, as a youngling, as a pup, I believed in hoarding things like games because they're very valuable. But as an adult, when you can buy I don't want to say infinitely many games, but you can buy just about whatever you want, when you have money. It's like you still hoard the games, but they don't mean what they used to mean. And this doesn't just go for games, this goes for different things as well. But in my case, games were a big deal. And now, like a game comes out, and this could be due to other factors as well. A game comes out and I buy it and it's like, oh, and you play it and it's like, oh. Like sometimes I buy the game and I don't even really play it. Maybe I play it for like 5 minutes and I don't really play it anymore. Sometimes, right? I'll play it past the first couple of levels. But when I was younger, you'd get a game and you'd be incredibly excited, whether it be for Christmas or a birthday or whatever. Even if you anticipated that you'd be getting the game, you'd be really excited and you'd play it for a long time.
The quick aside, Okami. I've played a game called Okami, when it came out, and I got that game. Again, incredibly excited. Christmas vacation, I played that game for a long time. I don't know if I had bought Okami now, I don't know if I would have ever finished it. That game is incredibly long. That game, when I finished it finally, it took me 72 hours to beat that game. Now, I'm the type of Dillo to faff about in games. So, I'll play a game and I'll admire the scenery, I'll, mess around with certain objects or, things like that. So I'm not just straight charge to the end, always. I like to take my time and explore. That said, Okami, again, a very long game, very good game. One of my favorite games of all time. And, I might have even beaten it twice. But like I said, now I couldn't imagine it.
And I think that has to do with the fact that even though I earned the money and made it myself, because it's a linear path, it's a linear, predictable path, which means I get the money, I buy whatever I want. It's like dearth. It's scarcity. Because there's no scarcity, its value, the value is less. Whereas, as a kid, I had no control, or I had limited control, because sometimes you'd wish for things and you'd get them, and sometimes you didn't, or ask for things. Same thing. But there was scarcity. You didn't have complete control over your future. And when things went your way, it was a huge deal. Even if you asked for it and you knew there was a possibility of you getting it, having to wait for it, the process of opening the package, like all of that went into it. And I think that's a huge deal with loot boxes. I think that is a huge factor is why loot boxes are so prevalent, and companies use loot boxes, instead of letting you buy what you want. Because if you can just get what you want, it isn't quite as exciting as having a possibility and the possibility can go wrong, but the possibility can also work in your favor. The thing is, when you receive a gift, say from your parents, there is no loss. You didn't spend any money on it. So there isn't any losing state. But still, the whole process itself of opening something or seeing something, a package, and opening it up and not knowing what it is, and then opening it up and it's, maybe it's what you wanted, that was extremely exciting. I just wanted to briefly muse about, the differences of gifts and their impacts, and how, getting a potentially random gift, right? It's not completely random if you asked for it, but it's you don't know what it is. Versus going out and buying something are two completely different scenarios. And I think this idea highlights the fact that things aren't as exciting if you have complete control over your fate. Like, which people don't, but I feel like sometimes having lesser control over things can be a benefit. Can, you know, influence the excitement factor. You know, I'm a little all over the place because I realized that when I made scripts, and there's the excitement of YouTube. So, here's my Steam library. Many of these games, as I was saying before, I have never played. Some of them I've played a little bit. But many of these games I haven't particularly played. I would have had, if it were only up to me being a kid and having parents that buy things for me at particular times, I would have a fraction of these games. A fraction of these games. And of the games that I did get, I would have played those games significantly more than I would have played any of these games. And it's kind of ironic that this factors into decision fatigue. How I have so many games, and whatever I decide to play, I'd have to get invested in. I'd have to, feel it. I'd say, oh, this is a game to knock out. Whereas if I just have a limited supply, I don't have to decide. I don't have to invest in something. I don't have to, strategically plan what games to play. And for some people that may be a benefit, but for me, I've just realized that it ultimately hinders things. So it's gonna be edited.